We are back, and the topic of the day, we are talking about scheduling issues because, as music teachers and gigging musicians and people who are selling lessons and selling time, right? We are constantly feeling like we need to chase after the sale. And so when somebody comes to you and says, yeah, I want that thing, I want that lesson, I want that time slot, or I want this time slot that you're not actually offering, it is super tempting to chase that sale and go after it so that you can get another client. But when we do that a lot, or even just a little, we can find ourselves in scheduling overwhelm. And that's what we're going to be chatting about today. We're going to look at the three biggest mistakes with scheduling in music studios and how those mistakes can cause scheduling overwhelm and really impact not only your business, but your life as well. So we're going to examine those mistakes. We're going to think about how we can avoid them. And I'm going to give you specific actions on those. So I hope that you are looking forward to the tips today because I'm looking forward to being here with you. So if you are watching live on the broadcast, whether you are on the Book of Face on YouTube or hey, over on Instagram, please be sure to say hello. Let me know that you are here. And I've got a good question for you all today. So let's bring that question up onto the screen. Do you have a schedule that you actually want? Is the schedule that you have in your business right now the schedule that you actually want in your heart of hearts? So I want you to think about that question. I want you to answer here below with me. For those who are joining us over on Instagram, hey, I see Ellen is waving over there. If you do want to see the fancy stuff like the lower thirds and all that kind of stuff, head on over to YouTube or onto the Book of Face. But if not, just hang out here with us on Instagram and I'll try to be having a conversation with you too. All right, everybody, I see. Let's get going here. But before we do, and as you think about that question, let's play a little music, shall we? All right, welcome to the broadcast, everyone. I am so excited to be back with you here today because it's been a while. I will say hello to Karen and Amy and Linda and Elizabeth over here on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, oh, here we go. I want to mute that page. I knew that this was going to be a lot of things to organize. I see Karen and Linda, you are here. Nice to see you as well on YouTube. All right, so we are going to get into this topic today, and hopefully I can stay super organized. So many things to look at. And I see that the chat bot, the Savvy Sara bot, just sent me the Messenger reminder about this. So for those of you who are relying on Messenger, on text message as the reminder, I apologize. ManyChat is having some issues pushing out those text messages, so I may be pushing those earlier in the day. I actually sent it half an hour ago, believe it or not. All right, so the topic of the day, three scheduling mistakes to avoid in your music studio. I thought that this was a really important topic to address at the top of the year, although really, it can be at any time of the year that we're going to find ourselves in scheduling overwhelm. I know a lot of teachers have recently shared with me that they've gotten quite a few inquiries over the holiday season and as we start this new year, which, hey, super exciting for you all because all that marketing that you've been doing lately is finally starting to pay off, and I'm really proud of you guys. But, the problem is when we start getting a lot of people asking for our time and attention that we can easily fall into these three mistakes where we start finding ourselves in a place of overwhelm. So it brings us back to that question that I posed at the top of the show here. And the question is, do you have the schedule that you actually want? Right? And if I'm awkwardly looking over to the side, it's for the Instagram people. Oh, yay, Kristen, I'm wearing your favorite sweater. I know. I'm just like, this is my lazy sweater. This is the sweater that I wear when I'm not sure what else to wear. Okay, so I see Amy over here on Facebook is saying this is impressive seeing you broadcast in multiple places. Yay. Deborah's here to learn all the things. Grace Gorey is just slipping in a little bit late. Hey, you are right on time. And Linda's saying, so glad you had a great birthday. Thank you so much, Linda. Yeah, that's why I was gone for a longer time than normal, but we're back. And we're ready to get to all of these topics today. So as we do this, I just want to remind everyone, hey, if you're new here, let me introduce myself. My name is Sara Campbell, and I am a business strategist, mindset, and marketing coach for music studio owners and online education experts just like you. And I go live here every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about all those topics, where we examine the business practices that we need in order to be successful business owners, because you are a business owner, and that we look at all of the mindsets that we need to have in place in order to implement those business practices and strategies. And of course, we talk about all things marketing because that's my happy space. All right, so I see Norma, you're over on, or Norman? Hey, Norman over on Instagram. Nice to see you. All right, let's get to it today, you all. As we have this discussion about scheduling overwhelm and how to avoid it in your music studio, I encourage you to share your takeaways and just give us a hashtag takeaway and tell us what that takeaway is in the comments. Let us know what is it that really like, bing, put that idea in your head, or if you're going to implement something, shout it out into the universe. And that first step of just saying it out loud is really important. All right. And if you are over on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications. We, by the way, very exciting here, we are going to be putting out brand new content out on YouTube starting this month. They are short videos, they're 5 minutes long, and they are jam-packed with good stuff. So if you haven't already subscribed to that channel, be sure to do that. All right, let's get to it today. We do have the Savvy Sara bot set up. So for those of you on the Book of Face, if you want to drop the word schedule down below. For those of you on YouTube, if you click that fancy link that I just popped into the chat, you can get a hold of today's show notes. For those of you who are on Instagram, if you do drop the word schedule, I will reach out to you in DM. Hopefully that's how it works. And I will be able to get you all that good stuff later on. Or just join us over on YouTube or Facebook, because that's where it's a little bit fancier. Okay, here we go. Let's do it, y'all. All right. So the topic of the day: scheduling mistakes that we fall into that result in overwhelm. Let's examine each one of these mistakes and talk about how we can avoid them. So the first mistake that I see most people falling into is, and I want to say, the reason I'm outlining these mistakes is because I have done all of them. So this is not a judgment on anyone who, if you are experiencing this mistake right now, there's no judgment involved here. Right? I've done these mistakes. I continue to do these mistakes. And so that's why I'm here talking about them with you. So the number one mistake is scheduling outside of your desired hours and days. And this is something that I think so many of us fall into, right? You have a client that reaches out to you and says, oh, I'd really love to work with you. And you say, okay, great. Here are the days that I have available. Here are the times that I have available. Or maybe you send them a fancy link on Acuity or Fonz or something like that. And then they come back to you and they say, you know what? None of those times work for me, but I'm available at 9 a.m. on Saturday. And you're like, oh, I really wanted this client. I really needed this new person. Okay, like I don't typically work at 9 a.m. on Saturday, but maybe I can say yes to this. And then what happens? A couple months down the line, maybe even just a couple of weeks, you start to find yourself in a place of resentment. Or you may also find that you have now expanded that schedule, and now all of a sudden you're working 6 days a week where you only wanted to work 5, or you only wanted to work 4. So when it comes to that number one mistake, scheduling outside of your hours and days, there are some things that we need to do in order to encourage ourselves to, stay with our boundaries. So one, it's learning to set those boundaries, not just with your clients, but with yourself. Because you are the person, I should say, I am the person who's going to, overstep that boundary. Yeah, I see Zhang Schoolhouten says, yes, guilty. I feel you over there. Yes, guilty. So what can we do to avoid this particular mistake? Well, circling back, we want to set clear boundaries with our clients. We want to set clear boundaries with ourselves. And we want to remember why we are setting those boundaries, because it circles back to the question that I posed at the beginning of the broadcast. Do you have the schedule that you actually want? Do you? Can I be super honest with you right now? I don't have the schedule that I want yet. I'm getting closer and closer. But I have to be really real with myself when it comes to taking on new clients, when it comes to looking at that weekly schedule and making sure that I'm blocking off the right amount of times so that I don't find myself in a place of overwhelm. It's so easy to fall into this trap because it's something that we don't think about all the time. And especially for those of you who maybe do not work on a very even schedule where it's the same every single week. If you have a lot of drop-in clients, right? Or if you run a lot of workshops, you may find yourself in a place where all of a sudden you've got a month on your schedule that just looks totally overwhelming. So if you've ever been in that place where you have overstepped your own boundaries and allowed clients to ask for times outside of your schedule, go ahead and say yes. It's all right. Again, remember, no judgment here. I see Grace. Grace says, every time I've bent myself around to accommodate a new client, they've ultimately not worked out or actively messed you up. Like, in contrast, her established clients rarely ask for special accommodations. So that's something interesting to think about, right? The clients who are ideal for us will work within the boundaries that we give them. And when we decide to go outside of those boundaries, it will be for a really darn good reason, right? With very clear parameters. Okay, Elizabeth is saying, yes, done that, echoing Grace's comments. Karen says she has learned that she does not have to schedule outside of her boundaries. I love it, Karen. That's fantastic. All right, so let's move on to the second point here. Okay, the second mistake is not putting yourself and your family first. Now, I want to unpack this because I think that this particular point, we can actually take it a little bit too far sometimes, but let's look at it in a general sense before we talk about what happens when we're taking this too far. One of the things that I know personally I have fallen into is scheduling too much in the morning hours or sometimes in the evening hours, depending on what my workout routine looks like. Scheduling myself to a point where it becomes very hard to take care of my body and my mind. And so last year, I started getting really serious about carving out time for me to do my morning yoga routine. And, then those of you who know me personally know there's been like all kinds of hip issues going on and like therapy, blah. So, that has been a new thing that I've had to like think about. How can I make time for myself and make sure that I am taking care of my health and well-being and my soul, so that I can show up as my best version of myself for my clients. So when we're not putting ourselves first, the big mistake that happens is that we're going to start running ourselves ragged. And so it's super important to make sure that you're putting your stuff on the calendar first, right? Put those workouts on there. Put that meditation time on there. Put the time to, create healthy meals. Put the time to go take a walk. Put in time to do absolutely nothing. That's the hardest part for me. I don't know about you. Hey, Miss April's Music Studio over on Instagram. Nice to see you. If you don't see the fancy stuff and I'm not like looking directly at you, it's because I'm multi-streaming and we're doing the fancy stuff on YouTube and on Facebook. But I'm here having a conversation with you. All right, I see a lot of people commenting in on this. Julie says gym workout is on the schedule. No discussion. Yes. I see something from Stephanie. Oops, I can't grab it. Here we go. Stephanie says, I have so much regret over not putting family first. Sad face, lesson learned. And Deborah says, this topic is so very near and dear to my heart. I think ultimately I will end up revisiting who my ideal client is. Ooh. Let's shut down Slack. I know you're hearing the little like woodpecker noise in the background. And Christy says, yes, this is so important. The first thing I schedule is my own personal needs, and then I add the work stuff. Okay, great. So what I would love to know from you right now, because I'm seeing such a great discussion here today, what I would love to know from you is how can you improve the time that you are spending with yourself in the next 6 months? What would you like to dedicate yourself to doing for the next, maybe 6 months feels too long, month? What would you like to dedicate for the next month to yourself? And now let's take that a bit further here. So we're expanding this outside of the self and your family. Okay, how can you make sure that you are putting your family first when you need to? Now, I also want to say, I just want to say it right now for those busy moms out there who've got young kiddos who are in a million different activities. I know you cannot always put your kiddo first, but you are creative and resourceful, and you're, figuring out ways to have other people put them first. If it's your spouse, your partner, or if you've got a friend that they can get to activities with, there are so many ways to make this work. We need to make sure that we are putting ourselves and our families first, because those are the most important things. That's why you do what you do, to be able to provide a good living for your family and for yourself. And if you aren't able to enjoy that living because of a work schedule that has gotten overwhelming, what's the point? Right? Now, there's a much bigger discussion to have here. Much, much, much bigger. I realize that. Because there will be things that might need to change with your business structure in order to make sure that you can put yourself first, that you can put your family first. So there's a much larger discussion to have about how you set up your business, how you determine your tuition rates, and all that kind of goodness, so that you can actually create that schedule that you really want and make it a reality. I realize that's a much bigger discussion, but I thought today, hey, let's at least touch the surface here on this second mistake. So when you are not putting yourself and your family first, what does that look like? That looks like what we talked about in number 1. You're taking on clients at times that you typically don't want to. It might mean, there's no opportunity to have dinner with your family. It might mean you're going to be missing out on those Wednesday night basketball games. Remember that, Julie? I remember that. So there's just so many ways that this can manifest. And you can probably think of ways that this mistake might be manifesting in your life right now, right? So the question is, and I see lots of things coming up into the comments here. The question is, what are you going to dedicate yourself to in the next month? How can you make this shift so that you are putting yourself first and your family first? Because when you do that, you will be a happier human being, and you will be able to show up better for your clients. All right, drink break. I'm talking a lot. Okay, let's get into the chat here a little bit, because I see a lot of good things popping up here. Amy says, since I've worked on putting my family first, my family relationships are so much better. Ah, how beautiful is that, everybody? And I see also, here we go. Karen says, my husband understands that I only teach 2 evenings a week because it interferes with the evenings. She could make more money, but she doesn't want to take away time from spending together. That's awesome. Ooh, Elizabeth is okay, we have our first intention set out, and I'd love to know what yours will be. Elizabeth says that next month for me, she is using a new aligned resources every morning. Is that Sarah Witten's resource? I think it is. Let me know. I know that for myself, the intention that I have set for myself and putting myself first in my schedule is that I have enrolled and invested in online yoga lessons with my favorite local yoga studio, since I can't go in person right now. And even though I did my yoga a day late, I did it this morning. And I feel so much better for it. All right, so I'd love to know, what are those intentions going to be? Let's get to mistake number 3. All right, mistake number 3. This is a big one. And this is something that will continuously change as your business grows and shifts over time. This mistake is forgetting to schedule admin hours. And not just forgetting to schedule them, but like getting real about how much time it takes to do the admin that is required to run your studio. So, the first step in this is, okay, wait, before I get into the first step, I'm getting ahead of myself. What are some of the symptoms, right? So at the end of the week, you realize, you've had 25 client-facing hours or something really big like that. And then you're looking at this pile of work that has stacked up in email, maybe actual papers, lesson planning, all of that kind of stuff. And you're again having to chip away at time that normally wouldn't be spent in the studio. You may find yourself up late at night setting up your invoicing. You may find yourself having to spend a whole Sunday afternoon catching up on correspondences. And again, we're chipping away from that time that you spend with yourself, that you spend with your family, that you spend with your friends, that you spend with actually doing nothing. Right? Just sitting and enjoying or reading and doing something that fulfills your soul. So the first step in order to correct this issue is to understand what actually happens in your admin time. Like get real about it. Make a list of all of the tasks that need to be done. And then decide, like, is this a monthly task? Is this a weekly task? Is this a daily task? And start to get real about putting that time into your schedule. Block it off and, set some boundaries for yourself around the fact that you need to spend time on that task. Right? Okay, I like that. I'm seeing lots of things here. I see Amy. I was up until 1 a.m. doing admin work. Laura says, ugh, why can't I hold myself to these? Karen's takeaway was to schedule admin hours. Yes, exactly. Christy says that time blocking has been a game changer for her. Yes, Christy, time blocking is the best. There's a really good, if you're not familiar with my friend and colleague and coach, Michelle Marquardt-Deveau, she did a really great live on zero-based scheduling. And if you do want to get a hold of that live, just put the word zero-based in the comments and I will circle around manually afterwards and send you the information about that. Yeah, Julie says, work guilty of number 3. I'm finding that working until 12 a.m. isn't always the best, right? Because it's very hard to then turn off your brain. Hey there, Lauren DeGiorgi on Instagram, my favorite piano tuner. Yeah, so Deborah says she is literally losing sleep over the admin work that doesn't get done. I feel you. I feel you. So, circling back to the solution to this, make sure that you are getting real about all the admin tasks that have to be done in your business. Make your lists, decide when those admin tasks have to be done, and then put them on the schedule. Put them on the schedule. And what you may realize when you do this is that you might actually have to teach less clients in order to keep the working hours that you want. Which again opens up a whole larger discussion about pricing, about figuring out your ideal clients and all that goodness. Okay, so all right, let's do a little recap here for those of you who are just joining us, or if you came in a little bit late. We're going to do a rapid recap of the 3 points that we went through today. And before we do this, if you are enjoying what you are hearing right now, on whatever platform you're on, show some appreciation. Maybe they're hearts, maybe they're thumbs up, maybe it's a subscribe, maybe it's a turn on notifications, all of that goodness. Maybe it's just a, hey, Sarah, I love this in the comments, whatever feels good to you. If you are enjoying this, please let me know. And if you have a teacher friend who could benefit from listening in on this conversation, whether it's joining us live or on the replay, please let them know about it right now. That is important. Okay. Let's get to the recap. All right, y'all. As music teachers and gigging artists and all of the things that we do, it is so easy to find ourselves chasing after the sale. And when we do that, we may sometimes compromise our own business boundaries and personal boundaries and find ourselves in a place of overwhelm in our schedule. And so what we're doing here is we're examining the top 3 mistakes that cause scheduling overwhelm and a quick discussion on how you can avoid those. So let's get to it. Mistake number 1 is scheduling outside of your desired hours and days. So if you have a client that you're excited to work with and you send them that information about how they can book and they come back to you and they're like, I really want to work with you, but I'm not available any of those times, but I am available at 9 a.m. on Saturday. I want you to stop and I want you to think real hard. If I say yes to this, what am I saying no to? Is this going to put me in a place of resentment down the line? Can I hold clear to my boundary and go back to them and say, I understand that this is the time that you'd like. Unfortunately, the studio is not open at this time. Again, here are the times that I'm available. And psst, guess what? When you do that to 9 times out of 10, suddenly that Tuesday time at 5 o'clock actually works for them. So that's mistake number 1, scheduling outside of your hours and days. Mistake number 2 is not putting yourself and your family first, because that is super important. You are working for a reason. There might be big whys behind this. We're skipping the big whys right now. We're getting right to the money. You are working and you are doing what you do in your business so that you can provide a good living for yourself and for your family, and so that you can enjoy that living. So if you are forgetting to put yourself first and your family first, and you're finding yourselves overwhelmed or in resentment with your spouse, with your kids, it's time to re-examine. How can I put myself first? How can I put my family first so that I can actually enjoy my life, enjoy being a human being, and show up as a refreshed and happy teacher for my clients? All right. Mistake number 3 is forgetting to schedule your admin hours. Because let's all face it, we probably underestimate how much time it's going to take for us to put out those invoices, or how much time it's going to take to write that email. And so it's important to make sure that we get really specific about all the tasks that we have to do, that we make good lists and we decide, is this weekly, monthly, daily, whatever, and we actually schedule it into our work week so that we can have the weekends off, so that you can have whatever day off you want. Maybe it's a Tuesday. Maybe you want a Tuesday off, so that we can enjoy that time. So get specific about your admin time. Understand how long it's going to take to do those tasks, and build that into your schedule. Biggest hint, build that into your schedule before you start building in your clients. Because if you can do that, I can guarantee, are going to get closer to that schedule that you actually want. All right, all. I hope that you found this discussion to be valuable. If you enjoyed this, please give me some hearts and thumbs, subscribe, do all the things. And I look forward to meeting with you again next week on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. If you want to get a hold of the show notes from today, I'm going to be sending you a couple different things. If you drop a schedule down below, for those of you who are on YouTube, look in the description. There's going to be a fancy link that you can click that is going to give you access to these show notes. I'll add that over on Instagram as well. So if you want to get a hold of that, put schedule below. She's going to send you a blog post about communication in your studio that I think that you'll find interesting. And she's going to send you information about how you can get more savvy goodness in your week by joining the email list and making sure that you turn on notifications for whenever I go live. Thanks so much for being here, everyone. And I really look forward to meeting you next week. In the meantime, stay savvy and stay you, because you are an amazing teacher and there's no one in the world quite like you. And I think you are pretty dang awesome. We'll see you all next week.